Millions of people believe that positive thinking can change their lives. If you imagine success clearly enough, work hard enough on your mindset. Repeat affirmations every morning. Then success will eventually appear. A better job, more money, a healthier life. But psychology suggests something surprising. Sometimes imagining success too much can actually make you less likely to act. So the real question is not, do you believe strongly enough? The real question is, are 3 psychological forces working together in your life? Because real progress usually follows 3 simple principles: belief, focus, and action. When these 3 forces align, change becomes much more likely. But when even one of them is missing, progress slows down. Let's start with the first force: belief. Not magical belief. Not the idea that the universe will reward you, but something much simpler. In psychology, expectations influence behavior. When people believe improvement is possible, they tend to try more things. They experiment more. They learn more. They stay consistent longer. Now, imagine 2 people trying to improve their finances. Both start with the same income, the same bills, the same challenges, but their beliefs are different. The first person believes nothing will change. They assume money is always stressful. They avoid learning about budgeting. They never explore better opportunities. So their situation stays the same year after year. The second person believes improvement is possible. So they start small. They read about saving. They learn basic investing. They start tracking their spending. At first, the difference is invisible. Both people still go to the same job. Both still pay the same bills. But one person slowly begins to understand money a little better each month. After a few years, their lives can look completely different. Not because the universe rewarded one person, but because belief influenced behavior. Belief changes what we try, and what we try changes what becomes possible. But this is where many people misunderstand the idea. Some people believe that simply imagining success long enough will make it happen. They visualize a better future, a bigger house, more freedom, financial independence, and imagination can feel powerful. But psychology doesn't support the idea that imagination alone creates change. Thinking can help, but thinking without action rarely changes anything. And that brings us to the second force: action and cause and effect. This principle is simple. Your actions create results. Those results create feedback, and that feedback helps you improve. If there is one sentence worth remembering, it is this: what you don't measure and don't review rarely improves. This is especially true with money. Many people want better finances, but they never track their spending. They don't know where their money goes, so nothing changes. Imagine opening your banking app and realizing something surprising. Small purchases happen almost automatically: coffee, subscriptions, food delivery, online shopping. Each one feels small in the moment, but together they slowly shape your financial reality. Once someone begins measuring their habits, something interesting happens. Patterns appear. Maybe they notice they spend $200 a month on impulse purchases, or that several subscriptions quietly drain their account. Maybe they realize weekends are when most spending happens. Once you see the pattern, you can adjust. Small actions begin to create small improvements. For example, saving $10 a day, learning about investing for 10 minutes a day, or reviewing your expenses once a week. None of these actions are dramatic, but they start a powerful loop. Action, feedback, adjustment. Each week, you learn something. Maybe you notice that cooking 2 extra meals at home saves more money than expected. Maybe you discover that moving a small amount of money into savings right after payday makes it easier to avoid spending it. Over time, this quiet loop changes everything. Not because of luck, but because consistent actions produce predictable results. And yet, there is still one more force shaping how people make decisions. Focus. Your attention works like a flashlight. You don't notice everything around you. You mostly notice what your mind is looking for. Psychologists demonstrated this with a famous experiment. Participants watched a short video of two teams passing a basketball. Their task was simple: count how many passes the players in white made. So, people focused carefully on counting. But halfway through the video, something strange happened. A person wearing a gorilla costume walked across the scene, stopped in the middle, beat their chest, and walked away. About half of the viewers never noticed the gorilla. Not because they were distracted, but because they were too focused on counting. Psychologists call this inattentional blindness. When your mind locks onto one task, it can ignore something obvious. The same thing happens in everyday life. If someone constantly focuses on problems, they begin seeing problems everywhere. But if someone focuses on opportunities, they begin noticing chances other people miss. In personal finance, this matters more than we realize. Someone who focuses only on expenses may miss opportunities to increase income. Someone who focuses only on earning more may ignore spending habits. Focus quietly shapes behavior, and behavior shapes results. There is another subtle way focus influences money. When people constantly compare themselves to others, their attention moves away from long-term goals. Social media makes this even stronger. You see someone traveling, someone buying a new car, someone posting photos of a perfect lifestyle. And suddenly, your mind shifts. Instead of asking, "What is the best decision for my future?" the question becomes, "What do I need to buy to feel successful today?" Attention quietly moves from progress to comparison, and comparison often leads to spending. This is why focus matters. Your attention slowly shapes your decisions, and those decisions slowly shape your financial life. Now, here is something surprising. Sometimes imagining success too much can actually reduce motivation. Psychologist Gabriele Oettingen studied this phenomenon and called it positive fantasy. It happens when we imagine a future that feels amazing. Financial freedom, a perfect lifestyle, no stress, no debt. For a moment, it feels great. Your brain receives a small emotional reward. But that reward can trick the brain into feeling as if progress has already happened. And when the brain feels satisfied, the urgency to act becomes weaker. It's similar to watching fitness videos for hours but never exercising. Or reading about investing for months but never making the first small investment. The brain enjoys the idea of progress. But real change only happens through real behavior. So imagination is not the enemy. But imagination without action can slow you down. A better approach is to connect imagination with action. Psychologists suggest a practical method called WOOP. It stands for 4 steps: wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Start with a wish. Choose one realistic goal. For example, I want to improve my personal finances. Next, imagine the outcome. What would change in your life? Maybe less financial stress. Maybe building real savings. Maybe the freedom to make better choices in the future. Then, identify the obstacle. What usually stops you? Impulse spending. Procrastination, feeling tired after work, or simply forgetting to review your money decisions. Finally, create a simple if-then plan. For example, if I feel the urge to buy something unnecessary, then I will wait 24 hours before deciding. Or, if it's 8:30 in the evening, then I will review my spending for 10 minutes. These plans may seem small, but they create a bridge between intention and behavior. And that is where real change begins. Now, here is a simple experiment you can try. For the next 7 days, follow 3 small steps. Step 1. Each evening, write your WOOP, just 2 minutes. Step 2. The next morning, take one small action toward your goal. Maybe track your spending, move a small amount of money into savings, or learn one new idea about investing. Step 3. At the end of the day, ask one question. What did I learn today? Maybe something worked. Maybe something didn't. Both are useful feedback, because improvement rarely comes from one big decision. It usually comes from many small adjustments over time. After a few days, something interesting often happens. Your goal becomes clearer. You start noticing spending decisions before they happen. Small actions begin to feel easier, and progress slowly becomes visible. So let's bring everything together. Success rarely comes from thinking alone. It usually comes from 3 forces working together. Belief influences behavior. Focus directs your attention, and action with feedback creates results. Belief starts the journey. Focus guides your attention. Action turns effort into progress. When these 3 forces align, change becomes much more likely. And the most important part is this. Progress rarely comes from one dramatic moment. It usually comes from quiet decisions repeated over time. If you try the 7-day experiment, you may notice something interesting. Your goals become clearer, your decisions become simpler, and small progress begins to appear. If you're trying the challenge, comment the word focus below. And if this video helped you see success from a different perspective, consider subscribing.